All right, Krystal, what's on your radar?
Well, the Democratic Party is aggressively fighting to get the Green Party kicked off the ballot in numerous swing states and actively damaging the mail-in voting process in at least one key state. Let me explain what's going on. So, you know the backstory here. In 2016, you might recall that Hillary Clinton lost the presidency. She, in the Democratic establishment, never wanted to accept any blame for that loss, so instead, they concocted a basket of plausible and semi-plausible excuses for that catastrophic failure and what should have been a fatal indictment of their program of neoliberalism. It was Russia, it was Comey, blah, blah, blah. One of those excuses was, of course, the presence on the ticket of Green Party candidate Jill Stein. They were outraged that voters would have any choice other than Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. Well, sort of. Evan McMullin was lauded as a hero for his third-party run, which they guesstimated would likely take more votes away from Trump. Now, this time around, they are absolutely determined to deny voters any choice whatsoever, so they've launched an all-out war on Green Party ballot access with some serious success thus far. This is actually completely outrageous. So here's the details. In Montana, Democrats have successfully gotten 5 Green Party candidates kicked off the ballot. Montana obviously is not critical for the presidential race, but is key to Democrats trying to win the Senate majority. And it's really wild how they actually pulled this off. So the Green Party did everything right, and they got the sufficient number of signatures to be on the ballot. But the Democratic Party actually went and contacted voters who had signed the Green Party petitions and bullied them into recanting their signatures, effectively disenfranchising those voters who had already voted for the Green Party candidates in the state's primary. In Texas, national and state Democrats are suing to keep Green Party candidates off the ballot there as well. At issue in Texas is a new and possibly unconstitutional law requiring third-party candidates to pay up to a $5,000 filing fee. That law is new and is currently being litigated in the courts. The candidates in question have been upfront that they don't intend to pay those filing fees while this matter is being litigated and being resolved. One of the candidates involved told Salon, quote, "I'm dismayed that while Democrats are complaining about the Republicans and Donald Trump are trying to suppress the vote, they're doing exactly the same." But the most egregious efforts are happening in a couple of key presidential battleground states. So in Wisconsin, the Supreme Court just ruled at the 11th hour that the Green Party should be tossed from the ticket over a minor technicality. So what happened here is Green Party vice presidential candidate Angela Walker moved in the middle of the petitioning process, meaning that for a portion of the signature gathering period, the address on the ballot petitions reflected her previous address rather than her new address. The deadline to send out mail-in ballots, according to that state's law, is this Thursday. So thanks to the Democrats, Wisconsin voters will have one fewer choice this November. But perhaps the most outrageous example of all is in Pennsylvania. Hillary Clinton lost that state last time by around 44,000 votes. As Democrats will tell you in anguish, Jill Stein garnered 49,000 votes more than Trump's margin. What they're less likely to tell you is that Gary Johnson vastly outperformed Stein on the ballot, earning nearly triple her numbers and triple, of course, then Trump's margin. So, in Pennsylvania, Democrats have gone so far as to allow their court challenges and aggressive war on the Green Party to delay the beginning of mail-in balloting in that absolutely critical state. So this is according to CNN. Here's what they have to say. The state's Democratic Party remains in court, battling to keep the Green Party off the ballot. The pending legal dispute has led to a delay in certification of the November ballot, and as a result, all Pennsylvania county election officials who this year could have started offering absentee or mail-in ballots, as well as in-person early absentee voting starting September 14th, are now in a holding pattern. So let me get this straight. The people who have been melting down about Trump's comments on mail-in balloting and moralizing all day and night about the sanctity of the election are actively impeding a key swing state's ability to certify their ballots and get them in the mail to voters. People, it is less than 8 weeks until Election Day. Local officials are warning that even after they have clarity from the courts on this matter, it takes time to get those ballots printed and get them out to voters. One official told CNN, quote, "You can't just real quick turn it over and have everything ready. It's going to take some time to do those other steps. And oh, by the way, Pennsylvania has not been doing such an incredible job on their ballot counting to start with. That state was the subject of a Wall Street Journal editorial sounding alarm bells about how a week after the June primary, only half of all counties had actually managed to get their ballots counted. Given Pennsylvania's centrality, this dynamic alone could create a doomsday election scenario. So a couple things here. First of all, the hypocrisy. every single American should be deeply concerned about election night. Taking bad actors out of it, we have never had a presidential election in the midst of a pandemic, and the early signs from states have not been amazing. Then you got the fact that we've already got a nation that is a powder keg with periodic armed clashes in the streets between rival political gangs. Maybe it's all going to go fine. But if you're not on edge about how this is all going to go down, you are not paying attention. Democrats are trying to take the moralizing route, publicly carping with justification about the importance of mail-in balloting and trashing Trump for his outrageous insinuation that these ballots will be rigged and tampered with. Yet here they are, for all their moralizing, putting their vendetta against the Green Party and their authoritarian obsession with making sure voters have no other choice above a smooth and non-chaotic election night. But here's the other thing. Guys, rather than spending all this time and money and your precious brain cells towards kicking the Green Party off the ballot, you could actually give those voters a reason to vote for you. If Democrats spent a quarter of the energy that they have wasted on this coordinated campaign of voter suppression, actually appealing to disaffected voters through maybe a jobs program, Medicare for all, legalizing marijuana, any of those things, then they'd have nothing to fear from Howie Hawkins. The fact that 2016 led them to double down on anti-democratic tactics rather than actually appealing to the voters they lost tells you everything you need to know about this party. This thing is so outrageous to me. And, I saw it. I looked over on MSNBC's website today. Rachel Maddow is touting this as they're getting the Republican-backed Green Party.
Yeah, okay. That must be news to Howie Hawkins,
yeah, I'm
right?
sure Howie Hawkins is really close and cozy with the Republican Party. These people are completely deranged, and they don't see it for what it is.
It is actual rigging. As you pointed out, the Democrats have been spouting on this alarm, conspiracy theories about the post office, election rigging, election integrity, and are going out of their way to kill the Green Party on the ballots. Like you said, they literally held up mailing ballots to elderly people because they don't trust them enough to make the right decision. So what does that say about them and not the voter?
Right.
It's all about rigging the system such that you don't even have the opportunity to express your dissent. What kind of country is that? This is America. If you want to vote third party, a lot of people do. Millions of people cast third party votes. And if it doesn't work out the way that you wanted, that's on you that's on you for not convincing that person or making that person so nihilistic. They say, you know what? Screw you. I'm not voting for you. And if Howie Hawkins best represents your views, fine, vote for him, right? Whatever. And I'm not saying it's tactically or politically smart if you have a couple of things you want to do, but that's up to you. It's on me to convince you if I think otherwise.
Well, and it just tells you everything. And this is speaks to a broader problem within the Democratic Party that, it's more important to them to keep their donors happy than to actually try to appeal to voters. Yeah. And so they spend all their time blaming the voters. Voters are too stupid to understand. They're too racist. They're too sexist. They're, Russian plants, or they've been manipulated by Russian agents or whatever. So they blame the voters rather than actually making a case to voters, appealing to their interests, laying out policies that would bring them into their camp. Instead, they just try to crush dissent. And look, I get it. Politics is hardball. This didn't go well for them last time. Every little vote, every little margin matters. But the thing in Pennsylvania to me was just completely outrageous because they're such hypocrites. Mm-hmm. They talk all day long about the sanctity of the vote and how important mail-in balloting is and how all of this is so critical. And they're right, by the way. All of this is so critical to making this election work in the midst of a pandemic. But when it serves their interests, they're happy to push the date off. They're happy to mess with it. They're happy to let it go and potentially compromise the ability of that state to run an accurate and fair election.
Krystal, how much cable coverage have we gotten about Kanye West's efforts to get on the ballot?
Oh, my God.
Rachel Maddow did a segment on that last night on her show about GOP operatives working to get Kanye West on the ballot. In what way is this not the same thing? In what way is this not the same sort of voter tampering or whatever, maniacal move in order to prevent the Green Party from getting on the ticket? And I don't agree with the Green Party, but I think that everybody should have a right to vote for them if they want to. And for all of this talk about, these senior citizens and mail-in ballots and confusion about the system, well, you just screwed the voting of the sending of mail-in ballots in order to try and engineer an election through complicated court maneuvers in order to make sure that the person that might draw a few thousand votes away from you didn't end up on the ballot. So what does that say about you?
Yeah, it's pathetic. We saw the same thing in Iowa. You know, I mean, we literally never got an accurate count of Iowa, but they were like, well, we kind of sort of got the result we want.
Oh, and now
we don't want to know what people really voted for, so let's just move on.
Okay. All right.
Coming up on Rising, political philosopher Michael Sandala is going to discuss his new book and reveal what Biden's secret weapon is in his bid for the presidency when Rising returns.